Hi, my name is Marquita Walker, and I'm currently the president of the Mule Skinners organization. Mule Skinners is the educational and informational arm of the local Boone County Democratic Party. We meet each Friday at Stampers Commons on the Stevens College campus for lunch, and we present local programming. We would like to invite you to join us. It is my honor and privilege now to introduce to you the candidates for the 4th Ward City Council position. And to my left, Jerry Wade, who's running for that position, and to my right, Mike Holden. We're now going to move into our debate, and I am going to turn this section of the program over to Al Hahn, who will be our moderator. And I've asked Mike Holden to speak first. He's going to give us an introductory statement, followed by Jerry Wade's introductory statement, and then we'll move into a question and answer session. Mike?
Mind if I stand?
Oh, that would be great. Perfect.
That way I can read my notes and don't have to hold the microphone. Well, I didn't want to come to a Democratic meeting and be described as the person on the right, so I apologize for that. My name is Mike Holden. I'm running for 4th Ward City Council. I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about myself. If I don't cover everything, you can read more about me on my website, ilikemikeforcolumbia.com. It's on the brochures that I handed out. It has a lot of information about the positions I'm supporting and information about my background and those kind of things. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a longtime resident of Columbia. I've lived here for 20 years, participated in the community. I went to Jefferson Junior High School, graduated from Hickman, attended the University of Missouri, spent a lot of time here in Columbia. My parents were fortunate to found and own Guaranteed Land Title Insurance, title company here in town. I've worked for them and with them for the past 18 years. In 1997, I was made president of that company when my parents retired. In 1999 really became my first involvement in public service when I participated on the Boone County Visioning Project, a project very similar to what the City of Columbia is going through right now. That project had, I spent a wonderful year of multiple meetings talking with people from all over the county, and it was a really good chance to really understand what issues face our county and present those to the County Commission. In 2000, I was appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission of Columbia, where I've been reappointed twice. I've served there for 7 years. Hopefully my record on land use issues have been pretty consistent. When I deal with a land use issue, I always like to ask myself, how is it going to affect the surrounding neighborhood? How is a proposal going to affect the community at large? What is the negative impact that the proposal may have for our community at large? And those are kind of the 3 questions I kind of run through in my mind every time I go through a proposal. I'm really excited about my participation in the Youth Empowerment Zone. I'm a board member of that group. I was formed 2 years ago by the Boone County Partnership. The Youth Empowerment Zone is a group that is committed to helping at-risk youth, and that they help at-risk youth find access to housing and employment and job training and education, and help them finish their GED and all those kind of important things. We're scheduled to serve something like 75 kids in 2007 to help them get some of those resources. And Don was talking about the unfortunate event that we're going to have this weekend. The Youth Empowerment Zone has been out there talking to its youth that it's serving about not making this an episode of hate and an episode of something bad for our community, and just staying away from that activity this Saturday. Just kind of an aside. My wife really yelled at me last time because I didn't mention her, and she's sick with a cold today, so she's not even here for me to mention her. But my wife Elizabeth, we're actually newlyweds. We got married in 2006. My wife Elizabeth is a economic and community developer. She carries a certification from the state of Missouri, as well as an advanced degree. She also serves on the city's Community Development Commission for the last 5 years. And last of all, I'm currently participating in the city's visioning project, and that's a project that I think we all as citizens need to get behind and make sure that we help put the ideas that are going to make our city the best it can be forward to our city council so that they can be implemented and worked on. Real quick, before I finish up, I want to just touch on a few of the issues that I am really specifically supporting. I'm not the person that wants to come up here and tell you about my theory of how the city government should run. I want to tell you specifically what I am going to do for the City of Columbia and the 4th Ward. And they are my #1 priority, is making sure that the City of Columbia improves Scott Boulevard. We've had a child hit on Scott Boulevard in the last couple of years. Scott Boulevard is fortunate that we're going to have a widening project happen in 2006, but that widening project is only going to go down to Gillespie Bridge Road. We need to make sure that we do the safety improvements from Gillespie Bridge Road all the way down to the MKT Trail. I want to promote growth that encourages our way of life. That is carefully planned growth that encourages new jobs, high-tech, high-paying jobs to our community, like the Discovery Ridge Project. We need to be doing everything we can to make the university's Discovery Ridge Project a success, to bring those kind of jobs to our community. I'm very happy the city passed the stormwater and stream buffer ordinances this spring. Those are going to be fantastic additions to help protect our environment, and I support those. And of course, our downtown project that's going on between actually Stevens College and the university, the City of Columbia, and downtown businesses. I want to see that come to a conclusion too. Thank you all very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and thank you.
I truly am pleased to be here. Some of you have noted I look a little peaked. You may notice I'm not exactly projecting my voice, as some of you may have heard. I've been fighting something for 3 weeks, and so I'm pleased when I get anywhere right now. I've lost 15 pounds, but I don't recommend this as a way to do it. I want to start by endorsing what Don Stamper said about not in our town. It's been my observation that the real measure of the strength and quality of democracy is how we treat those that we don't agree with. But then I also follow that with a favorite saying that I'm sure you've all heard. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make any noise? I can think of no better way to treat the group that's coming into town than to have no one hear the noise in the forest. A little bit about myself. I first came to Columbia in 1963. Have lived in the 4th Ward since 1982. And in addition, my daughter and grandkids and son-in-law live in the 4th Ward, so the 4th Ward has a whole lot of meaning to me. I think I bring a lot of qualifications, capabilities, and practical experience to serve on the City Council. I spent my career as a community and economic development specialist, as a state specialist for University Extension, and I worked with civic issues, community leaders, citizen groups, government leaders on a whole range of issues on helping them resolve what they were facing and to create their own better community. I have served on the Planning and Zoning Commission since 1992. Truly seems like an eternity. And have been its chair since 1999. And during that time have been involved in a number of issues, have learned a lot about how city government works, the issues facing them, and have worked on some very practical issues such as street standards and others that then were translated into ordinances, and I helped make sure those got passed by the council. The issues that I will focus on are, of course, the important issues to the 4th Ward. I might note that Scott Boulevard is scheduled for, one phase of Scott Boulevard is scheduled for reconstruction in 2008 or 2009. The others, I have 3 other areas that are especially important that are citywide. One is a comprehensive development policy, as I have stated in every forum to this point. The City Council simply needs to focus on legislation and begin to give guidelines to the issues that face it in development and infrastructure investment, economic development. We've got to start creating good job opportunities. We have had just a couple of new companies without a lot of addition to the employment since 1995 when Quaker Oats came. That just doesn't take this community where we need to go in terms of the nature of our economic base. Very supportive of the Sasaki report and the momentum that it's given to beginning a serious revitalization of downtown, making it the kind of place we want to live. And weaving through every one of those is how the City Council functions. We need a City Council that provides leadership in policy and legislation and regulations, not project design. And in some ways, that issue runs through the other issues. The City Council can't begin providing that kind of leadership, then I'm not sure that this community is going to be headed in directions we like. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have just under 30 minutes for the rest of the program, and so I wondered if you might confine your answers to these questions to no more than 2 minutes. And then if you don't, Ken Pearson will have you arrested. However, so let's get started. Let me ask the first question. I think most of you have covered it, but what would you restate your top priorities for the fourth ward? Mike?
Mike, you want to go first? Sure. You want me to?
Well, as I said before, Scott Boulevard, yes, we're very fortunate to have a widening project that's going to go from Rollins Road down to Gillespie Bridge Road. We're very fortunate to have that. We have federal money coming for that. I know that the city is still working out the state money for that. The part that we don't have is it's not on the 5-year CIP plan, which is the capital improvement plan of the city, which decides what roads get worked on. We don't have a plan in place to do the improvement from Gillespie Bridge Road down to the MKT Trail. If you live in the Stonecrest subdivision and you want to go ride your bike on the trail, you can't get from there to there without getting in your car and putting your bike on a bike rack and driving a quarter of a mile down to the MKT Trail because it's so unsafe. And so that is my top priority, and we have got to make that our #1 issue in the 4th Ward. I've also been talking a lot about West Broadway, making sure that West Broadway has the traffic calming and traffic solutions that need to happen, but that specifically preserve the historical nature of that residential area of town. That is such a historical asset to our community. I don't want to see us tear up those homes there with a 4-lane road. We had to put in very carefully managed turn lanes, very low impact items to not taking any more right-of-way, those kind of things. I just had a meeting before I came here with one of the business owners on Broadway, and that's just exactly what they're trying to promote. Other priorities, and I've talked about this a little bit, and a lot of people don't really have a whole lot of passion about it, but I do, and that is improving the internet footprint for our city. Did you know that one of the arguments for having the new city hall built was because the city still transfers a lot of paper between departments, and they wanted to be able to walk into the same building to transfer paper. That was one of the arguments made at the public hearing that I attended. And we have got to get the city moved into the 21st century. We have got to have things digital. We have got to improve the quality of our online access to services, and those are my priorities for the ward. Of course, there's other general overlapping ideas such as downtown vitalization, bringing high-quality jobs, those kind of things, but my priorities are specific to making those things possible.
Mr. Wade?
Thank you. The 3 phases for Scott Boulevard are on the CIP plan. The problem is that phases 2 and 3 are not anticipated until sometime between 2011 and 2015, and that is not acceptable. I've mentioned I've mentioned my priorities in terms of citywide issues, how the council functions. If we don't have the council beginning to give leadership into the future, then I'm not sure what the council is for. They need to do a much better job at that. We've got to address the question of infrastructure financing. We cannot continue to get farther and farther behind. We have got to start a path to catch us up and actually get ahead of it. People say that's not possible. I don't believe it. I think it is possible. It's possible one of two ways. Either we do it as a whole community, or the need for new capital infrastructure will begin to decline because we will lose the dynamic that is resulting from the growth. The Sasaki report in terms of downtown is not a plan. It's a report, but it's done something more valuable than any plan can do. It has changed our perspective and what we think can be and how much we can be. It's now up to the city, and I think the city council has to be a leader here, to step forward and think differently, take a different perspective, and begin putting into place the plans and the organizational relationships with the universities to get the job done. Ready, our regional economic development, which is the key to what we become in the future, simply has to have the tools and the capabilities to be competitive in a global marketplace. We are not competing with Mexico and Springfield. We're competing with the global communities that have similar characteristics. And the city council needs to change its perspective and step up to the plate on that also. And that's what will drive what happens to us in the future. Thank you.
Next question. Would you state your position with respect to growth, development, and redevelopment in Columbia?
Switch off, or you want to
Switch.
switch?
I think it'd be fair.
Go ahead.
Okay. Growth is not the issue. Growth will be what it is. Growth is an outcome of our economic dynamic, and it's an outcome of people wanting to come here. We must look at the characteristics of why people want to come here, and we must target those areas of employment opportunities that takes us to the kind of employment base that we want. We have had employment change over the last 10 years that has actually, I think, downgraded our employment structure, with our job creation being primarily in the area of retail, low pay, low benefits, low skill. And that is not where this community wants to be. Development is a response to growth. Development does not create growth. Development looks at the market and says there are opportunities for products out there. And so what we need to do is to ensure that the development that takes place is done with a sense of the well-being of the whole community and is of the quality that we have come to expect. That's going to require clear guidelines that are equal for everyone, that's fair to everyone. We also need to get serious about addressing the cost of applications in this town. We are one of the highest cost communities in the country to get an application through, and at the same time make it almost impossible for anyone to oppose an application effectively. Because of our process, we are a haven for development lawyers, and that adds tremendously to the cost, and we simply have got to reduce that cost of projects, and I think that will also contribute in better projects.
Cool.
growth, development, and redevelopment. You know, I don't know if this is a huge difference between Jerry and I, but I do think there is some difference in the way we feel about this. I feel that it's growth is not a matter of the marketplace acting out what the marketplace does. As a strong component in deciding where growth happens, how growth impacts us, and what we're going to do to handle the infrastructure needs of new growth. Those kind of questions are the things that we need to be asking ourselves. We are very lucky that we are developing the kind of economy that's going to support and bring high-quality, high-tech jobs to our community that are going to have a long-lasting impact on our community. Those kind of things are going to happen, and we need to continue to promote those. But what are we going to do about growth? Redevelopment is a question that I haven't been able to talk a lot about. We need to have a system of encouraging growth in areas where infrastructure already exists. We need to stop having leapfrog development where we're putting these giant subdivisions way outside on the fringe of the city and having to have the infrastructure problems that are going on. You know, that's what's going on with Scott Boulevard, and why that road is so busy and has to have the improvements that it is because we've had so much development way outside the city that has to use that road to commute. That's our problem. And so my plan is to make sure that growth is right size for the neighborhood. We find a way to encourage growth to happen in areas where there's already infrastructure. And we specifically make sure that the city finances and provides infrastructure that's needed. Having the developer pay for 100% of the infrastructure improvements that is necessary is not a long-term sustainable economic way for our community to work. We've got to have ways like that encourage partnerships between development and the city. And two really good examples of those partnerships are the Lamone Industrial Boulevard Bridge, where the developer paid for half of the cost for the bridge and the city paid for the other half, and the Gans Road overpass, where the state and the feds committed $4 million and the city committed $3.2 million, and the developer out there committed $3.2 million for the creation of that overpass. Those are the kind of things we need to do with development.
Next question. Would you please explain your stance on downtown renovation redevelopment plan for which the city has contracted, especially for mixed-use zoning? Ms. Colvin?
I kind of have a unique perspective on downtown development. I think, I don't know, I haven't, I think Gary Kespool and I are the only two business people who have actually owned businesses downtown that are running for the ward. I know Darwin Hyman had his law office downtown for a while. Downtown is a very special place, and communities that have a thriving, vital downtown are thriving, vital communities. And we need to do everything that we can to promote our downtown. I'm so happy that I've lived here all my life, and I'm so happy that the canopies finally came down. Those things were ugly from day one. But I'm so excited about this process that's going on between Stevenson University and the city and the downtown businesses, and I want to see it continue. Obviously, we do have a consultant report, and that needs to be studied very carefully. All of the interested groups need to make their opinions known, and the city needs to take a leadership role in making sure that we keep our downtown a thriving part of our economic base, and I want to see that happen. You know, when I owned a business downtown, you know, this is something everybody knows in their own neighborhood, is that every little neighborhood has its own issues. Well, every little corner of downtown has its own issues. My issue when I owned a business downtown was that we backed up to the soup kitchen that the housing authority ran. And unfortunately, because the soup kitchen didn't open at 4 o'clock, the people who utilize the soup kitchen like to loiter in the alley behind my business. And that created problems for my employees, and we worked it out with the housing authority. But what I'm trying to get to the point is that every block in downtown has its own special issues, and we have to have a plan that is able to address all those individual issues. We have to have a signing ordinance that protects the kind of downtown that we want to have, and also provides adequate signage for businesses. There has to be balance, and I'm real excited about the process, and I want to see it continue.
I said quite a bit about downtown vitalization in my opening remarks, So just a few. I've had considerable experience in my professional career a number of years ago with downtown vitalization. And it is possible. Most of my experience with it was in smaller communities. A community the size of Columbia, it's a whole different set of challenges. What the Sasaki report did was create a base to build from as a community. The city needs to step out and provide some leadership and build the coalitions. What is really needed, I think, is some political courage to look at some very different ways of building the downtown with a focus on entire areas. And I think we can get the job done that way. One final comment on the prior question. The position on Lamone Industrial Boulevard is one in which Mike and I truly do differ. A bad project is a bad project no matter how it's paid for. And it is not that is not where we badly need our infrastructure money going.